The year was 1945. It was a time of great turmoil and uncertainty, a pivotal moment in history that would shape the future of nations and the lives of millions. The world was at war. Countries across the globe were engulfed in a conflict that spanned continents and oceans, a struggle for power and survival that seemed to have no end in sight. America, once isolated, had been drawn into a global conflict of unprecedented scale. The attack on Pearl Harbor had shattered the illusion of safety and thrust the nation into the heart of the battle. For 4 long years, the nation mobilized its industry, resources, and people against tyranny. Factories that once produced consumer goods were now churning out weapons and supplies, and the workforce included countless women who stepped up to fill roles left vacant by men gone to war. Millions of young Americans served on distant battlefields. They faced unimaginable horrors and hardships, driven by a sense of duty and the hope of a better future. The home front endured rationing, bond drives, and constant fear. Families made sacrifices, from food and fuel to everyday comforts, all to support the war effort and ensure victory. Yet, amidst the hardships, a spirit of resilience and determination prevailed. Communities came together, planting victory gardens, participating in scrap drives, and working tirelessly in factories to support the troops overseas. On August 14, 1945, that faith was rewarded. The news of Japan's surrender spread rapidly, bringing a wave of relief and joy to a war-weary world. The news spread like wildfire. Japan had surrendered. Celebrations erupted in cities and towns across America as people poured into the streets to share in the momentous occasion. World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, was finally over. Soldiers began to return home, and the nation looked forward to a new era of peace and rebuilding. The sacrifices and efforts of millions had set the stage for victory, and now a brighter future lay ahead. Across America, a collective gasp of relief swept the nation. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of jubilation that had been pent up for years. The end of World War II was finally here, and the entire country felt the weight lift off their shoulders. Radios, once sources of anxiety, became conduits of unbridled joy. The static-filled airwaves now carried messages of hope and victory. Families huddled around their radios, hanging on to every word, their hearts swelling with pride and relief. Families gathered around their radios, hearts pounding with disbelief and exhilaration. The voices on the radio confirmed what they had longed to hear. The war was over. The tension that had gripped their lives for so long began to melt away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of joy. Church bells pealed, factory whistles blew, car horns honked. The sounds of celebration filled the air, a symphony of relief and happiness. Communities came alive with spontaneous parades and gatherings, each person eager to share the moment with their neighbors. Strangers embraced, tears of joy streamed down faces, and celebrations erupted. The streets were filled with people, young and old, all united in their shared elation. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated happiness, a collective sigh of relief that echoed across the nation. For years, Americans had lived under the shadow of war. The constant fear, the rationing, the endless waiting for news from the front lines. It had all taken its toll. Families had been torn apart, and the future had seemed uncertain. Now the nightmare was over. The boys were coming home. Emotional reunions took place at train stations and ports where families eagerly awaited the return of their loved ones. The sight of soldiers stepping off trains and ships brought tears of joy and relief to many eyes. Victory was at hand, and the outpouring of emotion was unforgettable. Parades filled the streets of cities and towns across the country, with people waving American flags and cheering for the heroes who had fought so bravely. It was a time of unity, a time to celebrate the end of a long and arduous journey. In New York City's Times Square, a sea of humanity celebrated. Sailors, soldiers, and civilians converged, voices mingling in a deafening roar. Confetti rained down. Newspapers with banner headlines were snatched up. A sailor, overcome with emotion, kissed a nearby nurse. The moment, captured by Alfred Eisenstadt, became an enduring image. The Times Square celebration symbolized the nation's unrestrained joy and hope. Celebrations were not confined to major cities. From Chicago to California, the nation erupted in joy. Parades snaked through city streets and town squares. Veterans marched alongside proud families. High school bands played patriotic tunes. Children waved miniature American flags. Faces painted red, white, and blue. The mood was infectious, a potent cocktail of relief, jubilation, and national pride. For millions of American families, the end of the war brought the return of loved ones. The long-awaited homecomings were moments of immense relief and joy, marking the end of years of anxiety and separation. Families who had been torn apart by the war were finally able to reunite, creating scenes of heartfelt emotion and celebration. Train stations and bus depots bustled with activity as veterans returned. These transport hubs became the epicenters of emotional reunions, where the air was thick with anticipation and excitement. The sight of soldiers stepping off trains and buses, often in their uniforms, was a common and heartwarming scene across the country. The reunions were joyous, filled with tears, laughter, and unspoken understanding. Each embrace, each tear shed, spoke volumes of the sacrifices made and the relief of having loved ones back home. These moments were a testament to the resilience and enduring spirit of those who had waited and hoped for their return. The war had left its mark on these veterans. Many returned home with visible signs of the battles they had fought, carrying the weight of their experiences on their shoulders. The physical and emotional toll of the war was evident in their weary eyes and solemn expressions. They returned as heroes, but also as changed men. Communities celebrated their bravery and honored their service with parades and ceremonies. Medals were awarded and speeches were made recognizing their contributions and sacrifices. Yet, beneath the surface of these celebrations, the reality of their changed lives lingered. The process of readjusting to civilian life was not always easy. Many veterans found themselves grappling with the transition from the battlefield to everyday life. The skills and experiences that had served them in war did not always translate to civilian jobs, and the pace of normal life often felt alien and disorienting. Many veterans carried physical and emotional scars. Injuries sustained in battle required long-term medical care and rehabilitation. Emotional wounds, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, haunted many, making it difficult to find peace and normalcy. They grappled with memories, nightmares, and the challenges of finding their place in society. Support groups and therapy sessions became lifelines for many, offering a space to share their experiences and find solace in the company of others who understood their struggles. The journey of readjustment was a complex and ongoing process, marked by both setbacks and triumphs. The end of World War II marked a profound turning point in American history. The nation that emerged was very different from the one that entered the war. The wartime economy had pulled the nation out of the Great Depression. The role of women in the workforce had been redefined. The war exposed the reality of racial segregation, leading to the civil rights movement. The seeds of transformative changes were sown during the war years. As celebrations subsided, America grappled with post-war challenges and opportunities. The nation emerged as a global superpower with unmatched military and economic might. America now found itself as a leader on the world stage. The wartime alliance with the Soviet Union dissolved into the Cold War. The ideological struggle between communism and democracy shaped global politics. Yet there was hope that the horrors of World War II would never happen again. 79 years have passed since that momentous day in August 1945. The generation that fought the war is now fading into the twilight of their years. Yet the legacy of VJ Day continues to resonate. The celebrations serve as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. VJ Day is a day to honor their service and ensure their legacy is never forgotten. The celebrations on VJ Day were more than just relief at the war's end. They were a testament to the enduring spirit of the American people. The war had tested the nation in unimaginable ways. Yet through it all, the American spirit triumphed. The celebrations were a collective affirmation of the nation's values and spirit. Let the joy and unity of VJ Day serve as an enduring inspiration for generations to come.